Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. I had a viewer question the other day about using water brushes, and this viewer would like to have some information about how to use a water brush, and I thought that would be a great way to do a video while I am working on my daily painting. And I'm just going to take this strap off. This video will be up, if it's not up already, soon on my YouTube channel on how to make one of those. And let's look at water brushes. So these are probably my favorite water brushes. They're by Derwent, and they've got these soft buttons on the inside to help you feed water out. But I also have a lot of these just kind of generic water brushes that you get sometimes with a watercolor palette, or you might find similar ones to these at any big box store. They're kind of like a budget type water brush. And first thing to know is the water brushes will unscrew the wrong way or the opposite way to what we're used to. And then you'll have, you've got the top part that's got the bristles, usually a nylon hair. You've got this little kind of valve that keeps you from getting too much water so it doesn't just spill out, and a cap, and then the bottom part of the brush is where you put the water. And there's different things you can use for filling them. You can hold them under a faucet and fill them up that way. I like to save these little drink enhancer things like Mio, Kool-Aid. Your grocery store will have their own brand of them. I just wash them out really well, and then I will fill them with water, and I'll use those to fill up my water brush. You just kind of marry them. They don't drip because they have a silicone seal in there. Just give them a squeeze, and you can fill up a water brush a couple times with this, probably about 3 or 4 times. And then you just screw this on, and then you're good to go. It's ready to go. And then if you do find these and you want to use them and you're having a hard time getting the cap off, I like to remove the label, and then I just grip it pretty hard, like the whole cap and the whole bottom, and then just give it a quick turn, and that's how they come apart. And they're pretty easy to clean, and I mean, this doesn't even hardly smell like grape anymore. And the other thing I'll use for filling those are, I will save the bottles that my hair color comes in and wash it out really well, and then those also are really good for filling that. But any faucet, or if you're careful pouring from a cup, you can refill them. But I find these bottles really good. Nice thing about these is they're nice and flat, and you can throw them in your travel art bag and then have quite a few refills ready to go. And as you may realize, this isn't a lot of water, so you may need to refill while you're on the go. To clean your water brush, all you're going to do is just squeeze up some water on a paper towel and just wipe it until it comes clean. And that goes for pretty much all of these. Now you're going to find that there's different nibs. That's a really fine one. This is another flat. That's a really wide flat one. Those are nice for washes, but I generally find the size that I use the most is either, well, probably something like this, probably a large round or a medium round. They do wear down. Like these are pretty worn, these Derwent ones, because they're my favorite. I tend to use them a lot. This one needs a little clean, so I'll just squeeze it and just wipe it. And they, they will wear out after a while. And they're generally, the Derwent ones are more expensive. I think a set of 4 is going to run you anywhere between $20 and $40, depending if you get a sale. But I mean, you can get cheapos at the Dollar Tree for like, 2 for $1.25. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. Lots of different brands out there. One thing that's kind of interesting that I've seen in the brushes that come in the Derwent boxes, and also these little koi ones, they actually have a stopper. So if you needed to break down your brush extra small, you can take the tip off and then put the stopper in and then store it in like an Altoids tin or something. So that's something to think about. Those are about $4 each. They're not very expensive. I'm trying to see where here's the top. So it would come like this in a little bag. You can store it like this in a little like watercolor tin or a little Altoids tin, something really small, your pocket. Then when you're ready to use them, you can take the little stopper off. Of course, it's probably going to be hard not to lose that. Then you just screw on the top, and then you've got your normal size water brush. It's actually a little bit shorter than some of them, but that's a way if you really need to save space. And then you can either empty it out and then stick it in your pocket like that, or don't lose this and you can pop that right in there. So the koi ones and the Derwent ones that come in the little 12 color watercolor palettes will have that type of brush too. This is a Derwent one, actually, not a koi one. So that's something you might want to consider, I guess. So those are the basic different types of water brushes. Obviously, there's lots of different ones. Caran d'Ache has a long, skinny one that has a soft valve on it like that. But it's got kind of like a piston. That one is a piston-filled one. Let me see if I can find that one. Actually, I think that one's kind of interesting right here. So this one by Caran d'Ache, this one you would fill with a cup, I believe, because you pull the, yeah, you pull the back. So you'd get a cup of water. Here we go, we get a cup of water here. I'm going to take this top part off. So you would, it would be compact down like this when it's empty. So if you want to store it like that, carry it with you on the airplane or whatever. And then you would unscrew it like this. And then you would just pull back on the plunger. And that's how you would fill your brush. And I think I would try to burp it a little bit. And then try to fill it up all the way. Now, I really liked this brush at first. And then it seemed like the water feeding out became a little bit less reliable, but you know, maybe I'll give it another try because it is a beautiful water brush. So, okay, those are the different kinds of brushes, water brushes that I know about. There are also some kind of like Sumi-E style ones, but they are, I bought a set because it said it was synthetic hair and it smelled like a wet dog in my bag after I used it. So I'm not going to talk about those because I don't want to promote them because they definitely were not synthetic brushes. And they reek like a dog in your bag and it was nauseating. So let's just do a quick little sketch here. I don't know how in depth I'm going to get. I think I'll do it on this side of the paper because I got some schmutz on there. Actually, you know what? Let's just sketch on there. That way it won't be too precious, and then I can play around. I don't have to worry about like making it perfect because I've already got a damaged paper. Oh, I've had a busy day. I've been just kind of experimenting and stuff and making a mess and all that jazz. I'm gonna draw some bottles. I picked up these bottles at an antiques mall. I'd gone out to lunch with a friend one day and we ended up at an antiques mall and I thought, oh, those bottles look really cute, and they were not very expensive, which was weird. I don't think they're antiques. I think they're more like, you know, like if you go to TJ Maxx and they have like kind of vintagey, antique-y things, and then sometimes you go into like antique stores and you see things like that. It's like, that's a TJ Maxx thing. That better have a TJ Maxx price on it because I know where that came from. Or I guess I would assume they did not look like vintage, because like usually vintage like bottles and stuff that have been used will have like signs of wear, and these did not. But anyway, I thought they were pretty, so I shelled out the couple bucks for them, and I didn't really care if they were from TJ Maxx because I thought they were lovely. All right, so we got this. I got 3 of them, 3 different ones. I'm not going to be too particular. I just set them up on my little table. Thought that would be a nice little still life. I'm using a Graphitint pencil, which is a tinted graphite. Let's use this as a port for this one. I hope that I can kind of cover up my smudge. I'm planning on having a very productive day tomorrow, so you'll have to wish me luck here. I'm hoping my day tomorrow is very productive. Of course, you're going to be seeing this way in the future. Probably not right out of, I'm filming this on April 9th. You're probably going to see this way in the future. But anyway, I'm having this, I watched a video today, and it was called the 11-hour month or something like that. It was a productivity video. And it's funny because a lot of the stuff he says are stuff that I do when I'm getting ready to like start filming a class or something, basically just kind of clear out my schedule so that I could just focus on, you know, what I'm trying to focus on. And I've been trying to finish up my color pencil class for a couple weeks. And I'm like, man, if I just pushed, I could get it done in a couple of days. And so when I saw that video, I'm like, well, maybe I could actually get the rest of the filming done in tomorrow if I had everything all set up perfectly. This one says California fig syrup on it. California fig syrup. That sounds disgusting. I don't know. I've never, you know what? I don't think I've ever had a fig, so I shouldn't say that. California. You need to get quiet when I have to draw words. I've very bad penmanship, so I've got to draw my letters. And I'm also a terrible speller, so I gotta look at what I'm writing. I mean, I think I could probably handle California, but then again, you know, you get right brain, left brain. This is a sketch. This is not like, I'll probably use these. I bought these to use as a still life. So I'll probably work these into something more substantial someday. But you know, these have been sitting next to my sewing machine since I bought them back in January. And it's April. So it's like, okay, and that was one of the things. I was getting my area all cleaned up so that I would be all set to do my really productive day. Oh, it's California Fig Syrup Co. No, it's going to be California Fig Syrup because I did not have room. And I can't even really read what's on the other bottle there. I think it's just like some letters. Looks like mill. Yeah, I don't even know what it's supposed to say. So I'm just gonna be doing. I could go over and pick it up, but no, we're just gonna be what I can see, really. Okay, and then we've got this kind of like ambery brown bottle, and we'll put that. Gosh, you know, if you're watching this just how to use a water brush, I think I've given you most of the information. But if you want to see it in action, I guess you could watch. You could watch this. Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? I think I want to have a little more space between those two, but well, it is what it is. We are in a sketchbook, and we are not going to be precious. Plus, this is like the composition is a little bit more square than what I have it here. Boy, this looks like a chaotic mess of lines. It's not even. This is so. This is chaos. This is just chaos, but I think it'll be fine. So this is dark, so it's going to be very visible through the California Fig Syrup bottle, and it'd be distorted a little bit. And then I actually have a fabric drape, because I'm wicked fancy, and I'm like, oh, I'm going the extra mile today. I'm going to put a fabric drape down there. So I have these graphitin pencils, and the ends on some of them have bleached, so I can't tell what color they are unless I pick them up and look at the lead, and they're in this, they're in a, like a little rack that I built behind my desk. You can see, if you watch Sat Chat ever, you see the colored pencil rack, so they're in there. They're in there with my watercolor pencils, and I have a big mishmash of stuff in there. But anyway, and I did set up a light on these, because, yeah, nothing but the best. Going the extra mile. So I want to get some of that shading that I can see in there. The light's coming in on this way. I mean, it's not really that dramatic of a lighting situation. But I like this free, fast, and loose sketching. Gosh, you know, it's only been 13 minutes. We're doing great. We're doing fine. I probably will grab some watercolors, or maybe I'll use these guys here, these Viva color sheets, because they're sitting right here, and I'm rather lazy, in case you didn't realize that, and I will grab whatever is handy. All right, so let's give these bad boys a go. Let's start with a flat. So to get it going, I'm going to give it a little squirt, and I generally do this over a palette and just kind of make sure that the bristles are wet. Okay, and then I'm going to start with the background. I don't think I'll have enough pigment here to do what I want to do, so I will be dipping into the Vivas, but let's just get this going. I think these pencils, I haven't used enough, I don't think, to have them be really, really strong, but that's all right, because I wanted to be able to be really sketchy and be able to fix things if I needed to. And also, if I grab some of that color and it comes out into the background, that's going to be fine, because light will send translucent colors from translucent objects all over the place. So I'm just going to go ahead and liquefy it. So because I'm not that particular about anything at this stage of the game, I'm just squeezing. I know that I'm really used to how the waters feed off, but if you're not, then just grab something that you can just kind of squeeze it and then dip the brush in it. Now, if you find that you're using your water brushes and you just can't get it and it's really frustrating, you can use them dry. don't add water to them and dip from a cup. And start off that way, and then once you're familiar and you're used to how those brushes behave, then start filling the barrel with water. So there's no reason why you can't use them as a regular brush if you're getting frustrated with the water brush tendencies of them. I think they're very handy, but I have to say I prefer using a regular brush over a water brush any day of the week. Well, that's not true, because I will use a water brush if I am, do I want to use these or do I want to use regular watercolors? We can do both. Let's start off with these. Let's start off with the regular. Let's do a little slate black. This is Viviva Color Sheets, which is not, they're kind of like Peerless watercolors. They're not what I would consider a watercolor because they're definitely more like a dye. But they're kind of handy. This color is much darker. This will be the darkest value, this shadow color. So I'm just going to put that in some of the areas where I'm seeing the folds and the fabric and the shadows. I'm not going to put too much of that in there. I think that could overdo it really well. And the light's over here, so I'm not going to have as much shadow over there. I do like to dissolve the grain. Now, I generally wouldn't use pencils, watercolor pencil on such a rough paper, but this is a sketchbook I'm doing a lot of my Plain April stuff in, so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. All right, so something else you can do with the pencils is that you can draw into the damp paper if you want a really dark line. So let me give this a quick sharpen. Take out your headphones if you're using headphones. All right. Sorry about that, but I always use an electric sharpener for my pencils, except for pastel pencils and my watercolor pencils and my color pencils, because I don't get breakage with those. Now I got to be careful. I don't have an artist bridge here, but I got to be careful not to stick my arm in there. But I do want to get some of those shapes back in fairly strongly. Now I didn't spend a lot of time on the drawing. I feel like I'm relatively accurate with my sketching, so I'm just going to go with it. I know this would probably give some people panic attacks, but I already had a smudge on this paper, so I've got the freedom of doing whatever I want, because I probably wasn't going to use the sheet anyway, thinking that, oh, I might come up with something really good that I want to share on social media, and, I would use a better sheet than that. Now, let's see, this does seem to be, trying to get parallel with the spine of my book and using that as my, in fact, let's put a ruler there so that I can have something contrasty to look against, look towards. I hope my head didn't get in the shot there. And you're only going to get these really dark lines when your paper's wet. Ooh, you know what? I'm seeing that. I'm going to sharpen this, so headphones. I'm seeing a really cool reflection of this amber bottle on the edge of this, so I want to go with that. I love that. I think my bottles are going to be a little crooked. I feel like I've drawn... No, maybe not. They might be fine. And then I'm seeing a little bit of that up here. This is like indented. Now these lines that I'm putting in right now, if I'm going on the wet paper, they're going to be very difficult to reactivate if I wanted to smooth them out. So that's why I'm trying to get these like sharper lines, these sharper reflections in there. And I'm just going to look in here, see if I see any reflections of that amber one. And I'm seeing a little bit, not a ton actually. I'm not seeing as much as I thought I would of that bottle being reflected. I am seeing a little bit there, but I probably should another thing you can do is lift up the color from the tip of the pencil and bring it over. That's probably a technique I'll use quite a bit here because I'll just want dainty color. Maybe I'll just use these pencils. Yeah, this is a really good... I do a lot of projects, especially ones using Derwent products on my YouTube channel that uses their water brushes too, because I had done a bunch of things for their art education program, And we use the water brushes a lot for that. And then I taught for them at an educational conference where we used the water brushes. And a lot of teachers, it was funny, a lot of teachers had never used water brushes before. So it was really cool because I got to introduce them to something that that they weren't aware of. And I don't know, I think these, especially if you've got young children or elderly, I mean, I like them too, but the soft squish and the girth of the brush, if you have arthritis, anything like that, I think this is really a nice quality. I'm probably going to need to go into something darker for this bottle because just the value's not going to get dark enough. But maybe I'll mix the color sheets in there because this would be like the lightest value when I've worked it out. So sometimes your water brushes will also feed continuously. So without squeezing, you're getting a little bit of water out. And that can be good or bad. It just depends on what you like. The koi brushes do that quite a bit. I don't find these to do that too much, but generally it's like there's like a little bit of a capillary action where as long as you've started it, the tip is wet, it's going to just bring water through, just kind of like how a fountain pen will just kind of let the ink feed when you're using it. So you do get a little bit of that effect. All right, I don't want to do that too much. I get a little bored by using just using little bits of color. I like to go in and get a lot more color at once. There's not a lot of color on that blue bottle though, so I think I will do a little bit like that. And water brushes have just gotten very inexpensive. They used to be a little pricey when there was only like the Niji ones around and the Caran d'Ache ones, but I find that now, I mean, they're included for free in so many different products, so many different watercolor sets. And I honestly don't find a huge difference. The Caran d'Ache ones and the Derwent ones are pretty good. There's also one, I think it's by Sakura maybe, and it's got like I might have one, or if not a legitimate one similar to it, like this one right here, that's this size. This is also really easy to squeeze. This one I think was from Scrapbook Pal. I don't know if I have an actual Sakura one. This might be a Sakura one, but they're one of them is anyway. They're easier to squeeze, that kind of bulb shape. So if you have some arthritis or strength issues, that might help. Oh, and another one I wanted to share. These Arteza ones. There's many brands that white label these. They're nothing fancy, but they also have a little squishy rubber part there. Not as good as Derwent, but better than these plain guys for squeezability. So if you have arthritis, that's definitely something. I would definitely go with one of the ones that are easy to squeeze, because it can be they can be difficult, some of them. But I mean, since maybe I don't notice a huge difference between the different ones because I don't have arthritis. That could be, not to brag or anything. I don't mean to say it like that. I hope it didn't come across that way. You never know. You never know how people are going to say. Please don't cancel me. I try to find inclusive things for people that will help everybody make art. Oh. Alright, I want to shape the top of that a little bit. I feel like I'm working at a weird angle as well. I want to lift that up a bit. Now this is just about at eye level, so I'm not seeing into the ellipse of it. I just want to sharpen my edges a little bit. All right, I think I will grab some actual. I want to do that. I'm just seeing what I have for colors in there. No, actually, let me try this burnt sienna. Let me see what that's about. Let's use the Caran d'Ache one. Let's see if I remember this being as. Okay, so I'm squeezing it. Maybe. Well, there's water there, but it doesn't come out in a blob. Maybe that's a good thing, actually, though. Let's try some burnt umber. Ooh, that's nice. Ooh, I probably should let that dry. I say as I absolutely do not let it dry. Yeah, I probably should let that dry because that's just going to wick out the paint. Unless I want to do something that's a little bit more blended. Let's do the blended stuff first and then dry it. I didn't intend for this to be such a long tutorial, but here we are. It's our dark bottle. And I love how, yeah, I guess when you squeeze it, maybe that's why I haven't been using this one. It feels like I can't get the water that I want to have come out. Maybe I like to use more water than the people they designed this for. I don't know. Definitely need to dry this. Let's see that Viridian color. I think that might work good. Ooh, that's way too dark. Yeah, I can't get enough water out of the Caran d'Ache one, but I think that might just be my preference for more water than it wants to release. See those lines that we put in there with on the damp paper, on the wet paper with the pencil, how they're not wanting to release? That's what I meant. So for where I wanted that more dark color, that's why I did that. It's been a busy week. Sometimes if I get have a really busy week, I have a hard time recording coherent words. It's like my brain has been fully taxed and it needs to recharge. I'm going to distort the shapes down there so I get a little bit of glassiness. I can put a little bit of reflection up here too. Let that light scatter around. All right, I'm going to dry this, and then when we come back, we're going to keep on working on it. You know, I'll keep using these water brushes, and you can see how they go. If you've got the gist, I don't mind if you click away, that's fine. But I hope you do stay, and we'll see you back in a second. I'm going to time-lapse the remainder of this video as I bring in some extra media, and this pen here is a Jinhao Shark Fine pen filled with Dr. P.H. Martin's Sepia Radiance ink, and that is a dye-based liquid watercolor, and you want to use a dye-based versus a pigment-based liquid watercolor in your fountain pens if you choose to do this, because your pigment-based pens can clog the nib and the inner workings of the fountain pen. And I've really loved the sepia color because it just it's a nice kind of cool to neutral brown. It's really dark. It's just a little bit easier on the eyes than black in a lot of respects. And I also like it on watercolor paper because I can go in there with a wet brush and I can blend it out. I am going to keep using the water brushes for the duration of this demonstration, so you can see how I would go through an entire piece. These water brushes are the ones I keep in my sketching bag. So I will have a fountain pen with a sepia ink, a waterproof fountain pen, a small tin of watercolors. Sometimes I have a bunch of other just colored fountain pens in there too. But basically, this is how I would sketch if I was, say, in a cafe or out in location somewhere and I just had my small sketching bag with me. If I'm going to go out for a longer paint, I bring my portable painter that has water buckets, and I would use either regular brushes or my regular travel brushes that did not contain water. So my preference is generally to use a water bucket and a regular brush, but if I'm working on the go, these are just wonderful. These are also great if you're using watercolor markers, which is kind of the same way that I would use the fountain pen here. Just you put the color down, then you blend it out with the water brush. I find the only time you don't really want to use a water brush is if you have a really big area to cover, you're working on a really large painting, or if you're using wet paint. So I took these out one day with a little travel container filled with wet gouache, and it did not go well. I found that the paint brushes clogged really well. It almost wanted to like draw up some of that liquid paint, and I had to spend quite a bit of time cleaning the brushes when I was done. So I would not recommend using these with liquid paint. So definitely not acrylic, because that could permanently ruin the brushes. But also I wouldn't use it with watercolor fresh out of the tube. I think dried watercolor, ideally it's best with watercolor markers, a travel watercolor set where you're not going to be working too large, watercolor fountain pens, things like that. These water brushes excel at those types of scenarios, but using them with juicy gobs of color, you're just going to be opening yourself up for heartaches. You're going to have to clean those brushes, and they may never be the same. I don't know if the gouache, after using these with gouache, if they were ever the same. But if you're going to dry your gouache in a palette and go travel with that, they work perfectly well for that. So just think, if you're going to be handling a lot of wet media, a lot of like paint, they're probably not the best tool for the job. This is a little Primo marketing tin. It had the set Decadent Pies, and then I added some other colors in the center row there. Decadent Pie set by Prima is a really great travel palette if you're just looking for something that has a good variety of colors that you could paint landscapes with or portraits with. I haven't purchased any of their newer sets. I think the most recent set of Prima marketing I bought was the Pastel Dreams, but beyond that I didn't get any of their newer sets, because I got the Mungio set of 48, and that has pretty much all their colors in it, except for like whatever was the vintage pastels, I think, and I was perfectly happy with that. Now here I'm bringing in a white paint pen to bring out some super duper white shadows, highlights, oh my goodness, reflections. This white is actually whiter than the white of the paper, so it's going to give you that really bright effect on reflective glass. This is the Mr. Pen brand, and you can get a set of 6 bullet tip Mr. Pen acrylic white paint markers for about under $10. I'm thinking it's about $7 on Amazon. I'll link it down below in the video description. And now I'm using the Uniball Signo Broad gel pen for my finer highlights. And I really like this pen because I find it is the most reliable in my climate anyway. Some people have better luck with jelly rolls, but it seems to be, if you live in a temperate climate like Maine, the Uniball Signos do better. If you live in an arid, hot climate like, say, Arizona, then the jelly rolls seem to do better. So find a pen that works for you, and I guess stick with it. But I like the bold one because, especially on this really rough paper, just the fine tip ones don't seem to do as well for me. And I do find that this pen does not work well on a paper with any synthetic content, and this is 100% cotton and it works well on this. But I do have a few sheets of Old Aquarius paper, which is a cotton synthetic blend, which does not do well. But yeah, you just got to know your materials and get used to them, I guess. And that's the whole thing with water brushes. I think that you just need to use them for a while and get used to them. A lot of times you don't like them right out the gate. They're not my favorite versus like a regular brush, but once you get used to them, you'll find them a very serviceable tool for this type of application, in my opinion. And I'm going back in and layering up some more colors. We're doing a lot of glazing here. Glazing just means that you add layer upon layer upon layer of transparent color, and it builds up a, I don't know, just kind of a luminous look. You know, it kind of gives you this, the light is going through those transparent layers, bouncing off the white of the paper and back through those layers again, and that's what gives you that luminosity of glass. And this pen here is a Unipin brush. It's also by the Uniball company, the same as the gel pen, and it has a flexible plastic nib that almost mimics a brush, but it doesn't have it's not a felt tip, it's not a fiber, and it's not bristles. It's a bendy plastic nib. And I got this 4-pack on Amazon for about $10, and it has 2 grays, a light and a dark gray, which I'm using here. There's also a black and a sepia, which I did not use in this. I don't think I used in this project here, but it's nice for those in between shadows where you don't want a dark black, but you don't really want a color either. I find it works really well in these applications, and it just sits in in a at my desk. I don't really travel with it because I only have one set, and I find it to be super useful, so I leave it right here at my desk. And here I'm kind of darkening some of those shadows in the clear bottle that's lying on its side, where I don't want to put anything too dark. And if you're quick with a water brush, you can actually blend it before it dries. But once it dries, it's permanent. So just know if you have to soften a shadow with that or a micron or anything, you got to be real quick and hit it before it dries. I guess I decided to go with a different water brush there. But yeah, they're all pretty much the same. Just get a nib that you like. Get a barrel that's easy for you to squeeze. And I think you'll be pretty happy with the water brushes, but just don't keep chasing and buying more and more and more because you think that there's some special one that's going to be way better than all the others. I mean, I prefer the Derwent ones because of the soft push button on the side and the variety of nibs that are available, but really they're all very similar. I mean, the super cheap ones might be, might leak or might not be so great, but if you're getting kind of a mid-range water brush, I don't think you're going to find much difference other than how hard it is to squeeze or how it feels in your hand. So, buy it once, buy a good one, and just know you're not really missing out on anything. Water brushes are water brushes. And I'm just doing some final lining with this Derwent line maker. I think I've got either a 0.03 or 0.04 size. I try not to go too fine on this rough paper because it will chew up a marker, and I'm just using it for those just final little dashes of place where I want really dark. I'm not outlining anything. I know it's hard to tell on the video, but I'm just kind of touching here and there where I want a super dark, sharp line. You don't want to go overboard with the black or you're going to end up really cartoony. This looks a little too cartoony for me, honestly. But for a sketch, I think it's definitely fine. And just keep going back and forth. I love that you can keep adding the watercolor with the water brush or with any brush really, over on top, and I like that you can keep going back and forth between the pens and the water brush and the watercolor and until you get it just the way you want it. But there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this demo. I hope you have a little more clarity on when and why and how to use a water brush. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I want to thank you for watching. And as always, happy crafting. Bye.